is going on, my fellow movie nerds and geeks alike? So summer is right around the corner, literally in a few days, and we are in for a hot one here in New Jersey. And I thought it would be a fun video to just talk about some of the horror movies I like to watch in the summertime. This list is going to be kind of an opinionated list. Like, these are movies I like to watch in the summertime. There is going to be a treasure trove of others that I don't mention here that I'm sure a lot of you guys like to watch. So do me a favor and leave some recommendations for me in the comments if you'd like. So consider this a recommendation list. I'm sure a lot of horror aficionados and fans of the genre have seen all these movies, but if you haven't, anything I'm talking about today, check them out. It's well worth your time, and I enjoy watching all of these because I obviously own them all. So without further ado, let's get into some of the obvious ones. The first group of movies is something I watch every summer and all year round for that matter, and it is the Friday the 13th movies. I have loved the Jason movies since I'm a kid, and I watch them every summer because it is revolving around a killer stalking a camp, Camp Crystal Lake. And I also love it because I'm from New Jersey, and this takes place in New Jersey, even though only the first one was actually filmed here. But come on, man, it's about campers getting stalked by Jason Voorhees. It is an all-time classic. I love these movies with all my heart. Yes, even Jason Goes to Hell and Jason X. It wouldn't be a summertime list for me without mentioning Friday the 13th. And in that same vein of summer campiness, we have the Sleepaway Camp trilogy. I also have Return to Sleepaway Camp, but I really don't like that movie. But the first three films are all-time classics to me. It revolves around Angela, who accidentally was swapped for her brother during a childhood accident, and she ends up coming back when she's older and killing a bunch of kids at camp. I personally really like part 2 and 3 over the first one because the first one almost seems like the whole movie is an anticipation of waiting to see her schlong flopping around at the end, whereas part 2 and part 3 are more geared in like a traditional slasher type of movie. But yeah, man, Sleepaway Camp, it is a summer camp and people are getting slaughtered. You have to mention it when you're talking about summertime horrors. And continuing in that same vein, we have The Burning. This is an all-time slasher classic. Tom Savini notoriously turned down doing the special makeup effects for Friday the 13th Part 2 to do The Burning. It revolves around a caretaker who was pranked and accidentally set a fire, and he's burned, and he has to stay in like a mental hospital and a hospital while he's recovering from his burn wounds. And like 5 years later, he comes back to a camp and just starts slaughtering all these teenagers. It is just gory greatness. It is worth it for the raft scene alone, and to see a young Fisher Stevens and Jason Alexander with hair in here. It is just great, all-time fun, and it has more campers in it than most of the Friday the 13th movies for that matter. Now these next few are in that same vein, but I don't really typically watch these in the summertime for whatever reason, but it's hard not to mention summer movies without talking about the Evil Dead franchise. I mean, it is a cabin in the woods after all. Ash fighting the Deadites, and I don't know, something about it just doesn't particularly scream summer to me. I usually tend to watch these more in the fall. And also movies I don't tend to watch in the summer, but have to talk about here. You got Eli Roth's Cabin Fever. There's 3 of these movies. The first one's realistically the only really great one. A virus that's just infecting kids at like a cabin in the woods. It is gory and great. I love Cabin Fever. And then if you want to talk something more recent, we have The Cabin in the Woods, which is a nice like meta movie about a bunch of kids at a cabin in the woods, and there's like a secret conspiracy to send out all these monsters to kill them, and the people there all take bets on what is going to kill them and how they're going to die. It is just great fun. I mean, Cabin in the Woods movies, yeah, it's summertime, you gotta mention them. It is not summertime until I watch Jaws. Jaws is widely considered to be one of the greatest horror movies and movies of all time, and I have a hard time disagreeing with that. I've liked Jaws since I was like 2 years old, and it is just really not summer until you see people running out of the beach on 4th of July because of that damn mare, and then Quint getting swallowed up at the end. God, Jaws is so fantastic. I even like the shitty sequels. I can't help myself, but Jaws, man, the ultimate summer blockbuster, ultimate summertime watch. And in the same vein as Jaws, there is so many sharksploitation movies out there. I mean, there's Deep Blue Sea, there's Shark Night, there's Sharknado, there's Shark Swarm, there's Shark Attack. There's even the new one on Netflix, Under Paris, which is just stupid and goofy. But I mean, hey man, to me they are summertime movies, and even the shittiest killer shark movies like 47 or 48 meters down, whatever it is, The Shallows, I enjoy watching them in the summertime because I also love Shark Week. And Jaws, thanks to Jaws, we get to have all these crappy other attempts at capturing that glory with all the sharksploitation. I love Deep Blue Sea, and I'm just using this as an example of the countless other movies that Jaws has ushered in for us. And in that same vein, if you want more killer animal movies that Jaws ushered in for us, I mean, it's hard to go through summer without thinking of Piranha, Joe Dante's classic, with the piranha attacking all those people in the lake. It's a classic. I even like the remake starring Jerry O'Connell's even pretty fun. Piranha's a classic. Anaconda, Ice Cube, Jennifer Lopez, Jon Voight. God, the list goes on. This movie is just goofy and corny. Alligator. I mean, come on, man. A killer alligator movie from the early 80s. You know, the practical effects are amazing. This is a fun watch, and thanks to Jaws, we get to watch all these crazy attempts at capturing that magic that Jaws did. And we got some great ones, like Anaconda, Piranha, and Alligator. And if you watch my videos decently regular enough, I guess you'd say, I did a video last year about aquatic horror movies that I'd like people to watch. So these also fall into that category thanks to Jaws. I mean, humanoids from the deep. I love watching this in the summertime. The monster suits these people wear are just insane about attacking that seaside town and like impregnating the women. It is goofy and awesome, and I love watching this in the summertime. Leviathan, which I mentioned in my video last year, and Deep Star 6, the 1989 craze that was underwater horror movies. Hard not to think about these in the summertime as well. And Deep Rising, Treat Williams, Famke Janssen. This is an all-timer for me, but another aquatic horror movie, which is great to watch in the summer. The Lost Boys, of course, taking place on that Santa Cruz boardwalk there. I love The Lost Boys, one of my favorite vampire movies of all time. It's hard for me to not imagine summertime and thinking of the sax man all greased up singing, "We still believe," and just following around them on their dirt bikes on like the beach and all that. I love The Lost Boys with all my heart, and it's a watch I must have in the summertime. And even though Lost Boys is the one I typically watch in the summertime, I have to mention some other vampire movies that are great to watch in the summer. Near Dark, Lance Henriksen. God, this movie is an all-time vampire classic, and taking place in like the desert heat. You could watch this in the summer as well. I tend to watch Lost Boys a little bit more, but I love Near Dark with all my heart. John Carpenter's Vampires, same thing as Near Dark. This takes place in like the Southwest or something in Texas. It is just hot desert heat and vampires slaughtering people. Hard not to mention this when thinking vampires and heat. So yeah, John Carpenter's Vampires. And of course, Robert Rodriguez's From Dusk Till Dawn. Another one that hides itself as like a crime movie but ends up being a vampire movie. This one takes place in the desert heat just like those other ones, and this is a fun one to watch in the summertime and feel the heat, baby. Next up, I got a sort of subgenre that I'd like to call like almost like a desert horror. Bruh. And it's hard not to mention The Hills Have Eyes. Taking place in the desert, this family gets stranded out there with a bunch of cannibals living in the hills due to radioactive testing. This is an all-time Wes Craven classic. I mean, this and the remake are both great. Sequels leave a little to the imagination, but The Hills Have Eyes is a great summertime watch. And in that same vein, Tremors, baby. Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, a bunch of killer worms, graboids underneath the ground in perfection, just coming and just eating people up. It's a desert movie. It's hot. It's so much fun and goofy. Tremors. And one I don't hear people talking about too often is California. Brad Pitt, David Duchovny. This couple traveling across the country accidentally gives a ride to a serial killer, and they learn slowly but surely that Brad Pitt, is a crazed psychopath, and this is a lot of fun and actually really dark and disturbing when you watch it. California, man. All across the South and hot, perfect summertime viewing. Feast. Even Feast 2 and 3, these take place in like a Texas or Arizona, some desert bar, and these monsters are just attacking people and eating them. It is just goofy fun, all three of them really, and I had to mention them here because I loved watching these movies when they came out like 20 years ago. Feast. Wolf Creek. I think there's 2 of these and a movie series, and a television series, and they're making a 3rd one, but this is a gnarly Texas Chainsaw inspired type slasher movie set in the Outback, and it is hot, it is gnarly and gruesome, and I had to mention it because it's just perfect summertime viewing. And like I mentioned, Texas Chainsaw inspired. If it's summer, it's gotta be Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I mean, all the movies, even the shitty new Netflix one. This exemplifies heat and just gross, sweaty conditions, people being slaughtered. And this film notoriously shot in like 100+ degree weather, and they had like real animal carcasses and meat laying around to pretend to be like human meat. So that movie just looks like it smells, if you catch my drift. I mean, everyone's sweaty in it. It is just gnarly. And the sequels are all a lot of fun. I have a great time with a lot of the sequels. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, if you're gonna watch any of them, watch like the first 1, 2, maybe 3, but hell, any of them are good summertime viewing. Now this one might not be on everyone's radar for summertime viewing, but it is for me being from New Jersey. It is The Prowler. I love this. It was filmed in Cape May, New Jersey, takes place in New Jersey. This I consider summertime viewing because it almost exemplifies the start of summer. It is a graduation dance at a school, and this person is just going around killing people with a fucking rake, and just, God, Tom Savini was on the top of his game doing the gore effects in this. I love this movie with all my heart. It might be one of my favorite slashers of all time. It is great summertime viewing because it is the start of summer in the movie, and come on, people get slaughtered in pools. I mean, if you haven't seen The Prowler and you're a slasher fan, you really need to get on that. And another backwoods slasher movie that's great for summertime viewing, Madman. A crazed, lunatic, deformed man, Madman Mars, is stalking a bunch of people in the woods. This is just like a goofy, like, backwoods kind of slasher movie, but I really enjoy it, and it's great summertime viewing because it's just, you know, reminds me of summer, camping out in the woods, and yeah, a lot of fun. And in that same vein, we get all the Wrong Turn movies. I mean, these are just like a bunch of inbred cannibals killing people, and I think the first one takes place in summertime, but I'm always reminded of the summer when I talk about Wrong Turn movies because it's just, it looks hot, takes place in the woods. Like, what would you be doing in the woods, going camping and shit like that if it wasn't summer? These movies are not good, but they're a lot of fun to watch and just laugh at. Wrong Turn. And in that same vein, you know, you got the Hatchet movies. Adam Green's notorious, like, nod to the 80s slasher movies. There's three Hatchet movies, and then Victor Crowley, which was like a secret sequel he did. But I mean, it's just a slasher taking place in the backwoods of Louisiana. It's a lot of fun, and I love an homage to a good 80s slasher because it's probably my favorite genre. And if you want more recent takes on that, I mean, look no further than X and Pearl. I mean, it's a cabin in the middle of nowhere, Texas. People are shooting a porno and they're getting slaughtered and fed to alligators. It's a lot of fun. X just breathes summertime to me. And probably the only movie that I have to show all you guys today that actually has the word summer in the title, I Know What You Did Last Summer. I loved this movie growing up. It's obviously a studio's answer to the Scream boom that was going on, but I always really liked the original I Know What You Did Last Summer. It obviously takes place in the summer with the guy wearing the hook as a hand. They accidentally kill the guy while they're driving drunk on the road, and you know, it's just a teeny bopper slasher that I love. It hasn't really stood the test of time for me. Like, as I've gotten older, I don't really like it as much as I like Scream, but I love I Know What You Did Last Summer to a certain degree. But please, I beg of you, do not watch the sequels. Bruh. They are so bad. Just watch the original, and please, let's not make another one. And if you're looking for just having a few good laughs with your summertime slashers, Tucker and Dale versus Evil, man. A bunch of, like, hillbillies are out, like, on vacation at a cabin in the woods, and all these kids think they're killing people, and they accidentally all start dying around them. It is amazing and funny and really gory. This one, like, kind of, like, slipped under the radar for a lot of people I know, and this is a must-see if you're into horror comedy specifically, but there's a lot of gore there for all you gore heads out there. And a movie series that just kind of screams summer to me, Predator and Predator 2 specifically. God, it looks so hot in these movies. The first one obviously takes place in the jungle where you got the aliens stalking all the giant behemoth action stars of the 80s like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jesse the Body Ventura. And then Predator 2, Danny Glover, he is obviously getting too old for this shit. This one specifically, when it takes place in LA, like they're so sweaty in it. I mean, the original too, but it must be summer if I'm watching the Predator movies because the jungle and the hot LA heat, it's just perfect summertime horror viewing. All right, and Return of the Living Dead. This one is one I typically watch in the summertime just because in the movie they mention it's July 3rd, right outside the you need a medical supply. I love Return of the Living Dead. I'd probably say this and Day of the Dead are my favorite zombie movies of all time. This is like a horror comedy classic. The gore effects are great. The writing is great. The stars are great. I mean, Linnea Quigley, Tom Matthews. It is just insane how great this movie is, and I have to watch it every summertime. And Lucio Fulci's Zombie. Now, this one I watch in the summer because it takes place on like an island, right? It just screams like kind of hot. And then you got that classic scene where the tiger shark is attacking a zombie underwater in the ocean. It is amazing. This movie just looks hot, and it's one of my favorite zombie movies ever. It is just gory, intense, and amazing. And I definitely would say that this is what led me on my path of watching all Italian horror these days. And it's very easy to watch, and one of the greatest zombie movies ever. Cannibal Holocaust, man. It is just hot, takes place in the Amazon. There is just fucking cannibals eating all these people. It is gross, it is disgusting. It is really hard to watch this movie. And in the same vein, it's just great to watch in the summer because of all that stuff. I mean, if you want to go down this road as well, I mean, you could watch Cannibal Furrow, you could watch Eli Roth's The Green Inferno, and any other knockoff. But I always stick with the original, Cannibal Holocaust. And lastly, one of my all-time favorite movies, Ghoulies II. Now, this takes place at a summertime carnival that is driving around, and the notorious little monsters come out and are stuck in a haunted attraction at this carnival. It is gory, it is funny, it is one of my favorites of all time because it is just so fun to watch. I mean, Ghoulies 2, man, it is probably my favorite carnival summer movie. I mean, if you want to go down this route even further, I mean, you could watch The Funhouse, you could watch Killer Clowns from Outer Space, but for me, it screams summertime when I'm watching Ghoulies 2. And this one's getting a 4K soon, which I can't wait to watch. I mean, come on, man. Ghoulies 2, a classic. Who doesn't love little rubber monsters? Alright guys, so that was my list of summertime horror movies that I enjoy watching during the season, of course. There are so many others out there, and I'm sure someone is viciously typing away on their keyboard in the comment section. So please do like this video if you enjoyed this kind of stuff, and leave me a comment if there's something I should be watching instead of one of these, or I've just omitted altogether. But like I said, there are so many you can put here. These are just the ones I tend to watch in the summertime. I hope you enjoyed these recommendations and enjoyed this video altogether. I love you all. Thank you so much for watching. And until the next video, you guys, adios.